On this episode of The Heart of Teaching Music, President of Women Band Directors International and Middle School and High School Band Director from Elkhart, Indiana, Dr. M.J. Robinson.
I always called myself the Bob Vila of teachers. I love a good fixer-upper, whether it's a program or the kid that needs the most. But I make a big deal of, yay, you made the mistake and you identified it, and that's the first step. But I want them to know that it's okay to make a mistake here. I went to the summer conference that year in New Orleans and met Catherine Rand, and the rest is history. She was just like, your voice needs to be heard. You're awesome.
Hi, I'm Julia Baumanis.
And I'm Scott Edgar. Welcome to the Heart of Teaching Music.
Because without people, there is no music. This space is dedicated to the stories behind the sound.
Stories of identity, belonging, and the courage to make a difference through music.
Join us as we welcome leaders in music and music education who share their journeys, their challenges,
and what it truly means to teach, connect, and lead in our profession. Together, we'll explore why music matters and discover the true power of music for all.
Hi, MJ. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah.
So excited.
We are very excited to jump in today. And of course, we'd like to thank GIA Publications as our episode sponsor, making wonderful conversations like this possible. So we always like to open up with all of our guests the first question, and that is, what is the heart of teaching music to you?
When you ask me, what is the heart of teaching music, I immediately think the words John Easley. He was my high school and middle school band director. And not only the reason why I became a band director, but the reason why I had a male role model in my life. Being raised by a single mother, I mean, he was it. And that was in a time when if my mom overslept or the football bus got back super late, I would be sitting outside the band house and he would pull up and say, Huff, get in the truck. And he would take me home. That was my maiden name.
Yeah.
So he really has been, all things father figure for me. He was one of the first people I called when my kids were born. Anytime I do anything, I always text him and say, thank you. I did an honor band in Georgia a few weeks ago, and I just texted him a picture of the program and said, thank you for everything. So for me, him and his mentorship is the heart of teaching music and my inspiration for doing this.
Yeah. Number one, hi, John, if you're listening, I'm sure you are, about the support that you have for MJ, but also what a great person who knew exactly what you needed, exactly when you needed it. There was no questions asked. I think all of us music educators try to do that for our students. How has that transformed into your teaching and your curriculum and your research? I'm really interested in especially the research you've done about what the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic have had on our students. How has his care kind of shifted your frame of thought, especially with, such an incredible world event that affected us all?
I never considered myself to be less than or having less. I was a little bit different growing up because, my parents were divorced in a community in a time when it just wasn't as normal as it is now. And I did identify that I needed something though. And he saw that need and filled it in a role that he saw that I didn't have that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when I became a teacher, I always called myself the Bob Vila of teachers. I love a good fixer-upper, whether it's a program or the kid that needs the most. That's my wheelhouse when it comes to teaching. I like to reach out to those kids and serve those kids that need something from me. I'm sure that psychologically that says something about me, that I'm the personality that needs to be needed. And I think sometimes those of us that are empaths, we give a little bit too much of ourselves, and that can be a whole other conversation. But I think it really did frame how I go about looking for a job. I enjoy teaching Title I students. That is the type of student that I like to teach because they need this. They need this probably more than this needs them, if that makes sense. So that's really guided the schools that I choose. And then in doing my research, I thought it was very interesting how different communities in different states even handled the COVID-19 pandemic. There were some schools that they closed down for the spring of 2020 and then fall of 2020, just wide open, let's do this thing. Other ones were on a hybrid. Other ones were completely virtual that fall. And then in doing research here, I had just moved here when I was getting ready to start my dissertation. And I thought it was really interesting how this community handled the pandemic. In doing the research and gathering the data, I realized that we have a very, very large Hispanic community here, and they really were underserved. I did a survey about student perception of their abilities, and the data showed that the Hispanic students really did feel like they could not do the menial tasks, either because they didn't have the support in the classroom or because the technology didn't work for them. It was a variety of different reasons. And then that made me think I want to do maybe some postdoc research into the ongoing factors of why they feel underserved. So it really framed how I approach my current students a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So to try to, again, meet those needs that they have.
Well, and I think it's sort of a testament back to John about, paying it forward, the things that you needed when they needed it most. And you said, okay, I've formed as a music educator and I do truly want to pay that forward. I also think it's not a marker of something negative that you are a person that finds happiness in providing for others.
Right.
I think that is a commonality between music educators, caregivers, healthcare nurses, and it's a natural human emotion. But I do think you are correct. A lot of us perhaps give too much and don't restore the reserve that we're pulling from.
Right.
And I know that you're a runner, and I know perhaps maybe that's a way that you do restore some of that reserve a little bit.
Absolutely. I joke that that's my therapy. It's not cheaper than therapy in the long run when you think about how much running shoes and everything costs. But it's just like yesterday was about 3.5 hours of just me in my head, thinking through things, brainstorming different ideas or maybe articles I want to write or how I want to approach rehearsals today or my to-do list for a WBDI or to-do list for home or to-do list for work. Now, the hard part is remembering all those things, all those great ideas on my run, remembering,
Right.
no, what was I thinking about on mile 15? Oh, yeah, that's what it was. But that's my alone time and that's my therapy. That's when I refill.
MJ, I'll tell you what I'm thinking in mile 15, and I'm huffing and puffing, so I'm not thinking about anything other than survival by that point. So congratulations that you're still in the space to be thinking at that point.
I really love research that is not just for research's sake. It's not just, I'm going to figure this out and see what it says. I always love that there's a follow-up and like, okay, now I have this information.
Right.
Now let's fix something with it. So I don't know if you're already there, if you're already thinking about it, but could you share a little bit about like what the specific needs were revealed? And I don't know if you've gone into postdoc work a little bit yet about how to meet those needs.
I haven't started it yet. However, that was the thing that when I was working on my dissertation or starting the dissertation, they want you to pick, do you want to do quantitative? Do you want to do qualitative? Like what type of study? And I was really stumped because I was like, I want to do something that's going to make a difference. The solutions are directly applicable in the classroom for teachers that want to use it. So in doing the research with the students here, the big thing that stuck out to me, not necessarily specific things that students felt like held them back, whether it was internet connection, this, that, and the other, it was how the students viewed themselves and their self-perception of their abilities. And essentially their confidence within themselves to be able to accomplish certain tasks, whether it be playing tests or keeping up with the other students, their white counterparts. And I found that to be absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That so many of a certain percentage of these Hispanic students just felt like they didn't have the talent, they didn't have the knowledge, and they didn't have the ability to do what their classmates were doing. And I immediately thought, I've got to do whatever I can for every student in my classroom to make them feel like this is a safe space for them and that they can do this. Because, learning how to play a musical instrument is hard. Learning how to read music is a different language.
Yeah.
And I approach things differently now in terms of the instruction because it's my job to give them the self-confidence to maybe not necessarily succeed in the classroom because, I can put a trumpet in a kid's hand and physiologically they may just not be able to do it. But if they have the confidence to be there, be themselves, try, safe space to make a mistake, then this is the place for you.
Yeah.
And that's how I approach the students now.
Yeah. That stems to a question we always have is, what does music for all mean for you? And I think you beautifully answered that question is this will be a space for you to create. And in whatever level you come to me with, whatever background you come to me with, just like John did for you, right? I'm going to make sure that you get here. And I'm going to make sure that you have what you need. And I think needs are different for every student. I have seen that some of my students who at this point are we're pretty far away from the pandemic, but I've still seen students that have come from different districts that dealt with the protocol afterwards and how to get out of it. Some of them have skills. Some of them are lacking skills. Some of them need some more emotional maturity, developmental processing. Some of them already have that, but are lacking in the musical ability compared to their colleagues. So I want to applaud you for always keeping the perspective of this will be a place for you, regardless of whatever you come with. This will absolutely be a place for you.
Yeah. Friend, you talk a lot about empathy fatigue and how so many things are coming at us in our students' realities and they weigh heavily on us. I'm curious that, as Julia was just kind of exploring there, what are some things that refill you? My curiosity, and one of the things that I talk about with a lot of teachers, is that for us to be able to have fidelity in our profession, to be able to sustain a career, we have to have things in our life that are more important than our jobs. And I think our profession needs to hear this. So if we play a little game here, what are some things in your life that are more important than your job?
First and foremost, my kids. I have an 11-year-old boy, Franklin, and an 8-year-old daughter named Eleanor. And yep, let that sink in a second. Yes, my coworkers call them the Roosevelts because they go everywhere with me and they're like, oh, here comes the Roosevelts.
Yeah.
Spending time with them. And we're in a season now where I want to spend as much time traveling and experiencing things with them because there's going to come a time when they're in middle school and high school that it's not going to be cool to go on a vacation with mom and dad. So right now it is all about every break that I have, I'm spending as much time with them just going and experiencing things. Like Saturday, it was so cold. It was 35 degrees by noon. And I was like, let's go to the zoo. Let's just bundle up and let's go spend some time together. But first and foremost, they're the thing that brings me the most joy outside of school. I don't have a whole lot outside of that. They're running the marathons. That's my therapy. But that's my greatest joy outside of school.
Let's take a quick break.
This episode is sponsored by GIA Publications. GIA is a leading publisher of music education resources. From music play for infants to beginning band and strings methods, college-level texts to music aptitude tests, books from leading voices in music education to top-notch recordings, GIA has something for you. Visit GIAmusic.com to learn more. GIAmusic.com.
HOTM friends, we want to hear your voice. Do you have a comment, a general question, or even a question for a specific future guest? Great, because you can be a part of a future episode. Visit musicforall.org/podcasts for a list of future guests. And then all you have to do is click the Ask a Question button. We may include your voice in a future episode. Again, to record your question, just go to musicforall.org/podcasts. Let's rejoin our conversation. MJ, so much of what you're talking about and these students believing that they can do something, sometimes it's just so hard because so many people in our young people's lives are telling them they can't, or you're less than, or you're the bad generation, or you're screwed up. And that becomes part of our kids' identity. They're like, I'm the screw up, so I'm going to be the best screw up I can be. And I'm just going to go all in. And I know I can't do this. I can't do anything right. And then that becomes part of how they present themselves at school because that becomes their school identity. Things that you are able to see and do in Elkhart. A little backstory, MJ, it was just such an honor. I was just in Elkhart working with you and other teachers as part of your district. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But how do you help in your classrooms your students believe that they can do something, especially when they hit that moment that requires resilience, where music is pushing back, that going over the break on the clarinet is just beating them up, or they reach a point that I can't hit that partial up on trumpet? How do you tell them that they can?
So 6th grade right now, bless their hearts. So they're struggling with key signatures. And even though we go to a new line or I pass out a piece of music, I always ask them, what is the first thing you look at? One student will raise their hand, say the key signature. Yay, we've established that that's where we're going to look. And then we'll go through all the steps, clapping and counting the rhythm and singing the part and letters and fingers. And invariably, we start playing the line and a trumpet player is going to put down a middle valve for a B flat, or a saxophone is going to put down the first finger for an F sharp. And I'll stop and I'll say, okay, raise your hand if you were the people that missed the key signature. And 7 kids will raise their hand. And I celebrate those 7 kids, like in a big way. I'll yell on the podium and I'll jump up and down because I want them to know that this is a safe space to make a mistake. And you need to realize that you make the mistake. So the first celebration is that they realize they made it, because it doesn't do any good if the kids it's just oblivious to the fact they missed the key signature. But I make a big deal of, yay, you made the mistake and you identified it. And that's the first step. Okay, now you've got to make an adjustment. Please grab your pencil and mark it. But I want them to know that it's okay to make a mistake here. But you've made the mistake. Now you have all the answers to the test on your stand. So write the answers in right there for your performance. And I encourage them to correct the mistakes. But the first thing is it's got to be okay not to be perfect. I misspeak all the time. And the students love to raise their hand and say, oh, you said the wrong measure number. You said the wrong accidental for the transposing instruments or whatever. So yeah, to circle back around, it's okay to make a mistake in our world.
MJ, just a beautiful thought there. And I think it would be lovely if our teachers embraced that same belief, because I see teachers feeling like we need to be perfect on the podium. And thank you for your grace of saying I misspeak all the time. Just circling a little bit back to the time where I got to meet you for the first time when I drove from Chicago to Elkhart, Indiana, and work with you and your fabulous teachers. And whenever I work with teachers anywhere in the country, I just see teachers who are really trying their best. They really are. And they're just running up against the wall. They're encountering their own version of not being able to go over the break or hitting the next partial up. MJ, how are the teachers in your neck of the woods persevering through and finding resilience for themselves?
It's hard right now because our district is going through some shift. There's some school closures because of enrollment and things like that. So it really is hard to stay positive with so much unknown on the horizon. So we had our PLC this morning and we're just planning the best that we can because, we're still getting tweaks in our schedules and tweaks in placements and things like that. And I try my very best every conversation I go into, whether it's with my principal or with a music coordinator or even my colleagues. I read a quote one time by Teddy Roosevelt that says, and I paraphrase, coming to me with problems instead of solutions is just whining. So I try my best to go into these conversations instead of let's just sit and commiserate and waller. Let's come up with some ideas. And I think for the most part, everyone is really open to thinking outside the box and let's see how we can move this thing forward down the field and just focusing on our music departments and how we can best serve the kids that we have.
It's kind of like, do you want comfort in this moment or do you want solutions? Are you here to vent and commiserate or are we moving forward and figuring this out?
Yeah.
Speaking of support and comfort, I want to talk a little bit about, Madam President, your leadership role for WBDI, Women Band Directors International, which is, if you don't know, just this incredible organization that's been around for how many years at this point?
Gladys founded it in 1969. So we just had our 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
I can't math right now.
It's okay. It's okay. And we're thinking of Gladys. Honestly, I have a red rose. We had band banquet and I have a bouquet of red roses coincidentally in my corner. And I'm thinking of Gladys because of the rose and everything. We're thinking about Gladys because we did recently lose our founder after a beautiful career. I wanted to talk to you about support. When I think about WBDI, the first word that pops into my brain is support. And I had this moment where we had our WBDI luncheon at Midwest this past year. And I was just sitting and I was observing, looking around. It's the biggest luncheon we've ever had. I mean, it was a huge ballroom filled. And I see you and Pam Klenna. Shout out to Pam. I love Pam.
Love her.
Oh my gosh. And I was struck with the friendship of you and Pam. There is something wildly powerful about female friendships in particular. And I can think of like celebrity pairs of female friendships who've just supported each other through the career. And when I think about our world, I look to you and Pam and just the support that there has been in the transition of leadership. I wanted to talk to you about that and see your thoughts of the power of female friendship, the support, what this organization has meant to you, what your plans are for your role stepping in, which I'm very excited for.
So I found WBDI at a time in my career where I was teaching in East Tennessee. There were a few female band directors there at the time, one of which was at Powell Middle School, Janet Roach, and I was at the high school. And she came back from the Sarasota conference that Dr. Robin Bell hosted, and she was just mind blown. She was like, you have to join this organization. You have to, meet these women. It's amazing. And her testimony was the ability to get on the podium at a conducting symposium and be critiqued by another woman rather than a man talking down to her or being mansplained to. And she said it was just so empowering. And so I was like, I don't know. I was a completely different person at that point in my life and career. There were people that I judged solo and ensemble with or judged auditions with that had no idea what my name was. I was a wallflower that sat in the corner at ETSBOA meetings and never said a word. And people still that even in 2019, when I did my Midwest clinic, band directors from East Tennessee, like, oh, that was really nice. You were in Powell? Yep. I monitored your room for you during trumpet auditions, friend. So I went to the summer conference that year in New Orleans and met Catherine Rand, and the rest is history. She was just like, your voice needs to be heard. You're awesome. It's like, oh, this is nice. And then I just got involved with committees and just did everything I could for every committee. I took over the Midwest booth. I was historical curator for a while. I think I was on social media committee. I think I've been on almost every committee.
Every committee. And there's a lot of committees.
Yes, just trying to do the work, trying to pay it forward what Janet had done for me and seeing that she just knew that this was what I needed because that's what she needed too. And then I just met and have met some of the most phenomenal people that I still pinch myself that I have conversations with these people. Like, I sort of had a mild panic attack today because I was like, I am going to have a conversation with Julia and Scott. And how have I ended up at this table? It's that imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
It just, I think you learn to manage it better, but it never goes away. But without WBDI and Judy Grimes getting me to write my first article and Jenny Collins giving me my first clinic presentation opportunity, there's no way that I would have written for various publications. There's no way I would have had the guts to apply to do a clinic at Midwest. I definitely wouldn't be doing honor bands. Well, honor band was John Easley. He gave me my first honor band opportunity last year. And then I've done 3 since then. So it's just WBDI and the women in this organization empowering one another, straightening each other's crown instead of ripping the cape off. I mean, it's just a phenomenal energy and vibe when you get these women together because we do empower and support one another. And you were talking about Pam. We ended the executive board meeting last night and she calls me because she's driving. And I thought, she wanted to give me some advice. And she just wanted to tell me, you're doing a great job.
Ugh.
You're really running great. And I'm like, thank you.
That's so Pam.
That's just the type of things that we do for each other. But I wasn't aware that that's what you do until I surrounded myself with these people.
Yeah.
And that just is the norm.
Yeah. What makes it different? And I know the answer for me, but like, what makes it different when there is a female giving you critique at that conducting symposium? It's a female that is asking you to come to the table and for your thoughts, as opposed to a male, the opposite sex.
There's an energy of almost like maternal support of, this person wants me to succeed. There's a warmth about it. And don't get me wrong, I feel bad for Scott because he's like...
Scott is the biggest feminist I know.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Because I've known some phenomenal male band directors that are, like Joel Denton in East Tennessee. He will like bring the pom-poms out and really cheer you on as well. But I did the conducting symposium last year with Cynthia Johnson Turner, and I was so nervous, and I knew how to do that piece. And then I got into it, and I just stuck to 3. And I was like in a box right there, and I completely just butchered conducting that piece of music. But I was okay with making that mistake. I didn't fall apart. I knew that I could have a conversation with her afterwards and I wasn't making excuses. And I knew that she just wanted me to do well and by extension, my students to do well.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes I feel like when I'm having a conversation or a critique from one of our male counterparts, I worry about their perception of me. Are they looking at me like, oh, well, this is just another girl? Or because in rooms like that, I really do feel like a little girl rather than a grown woman that knows her stuff and
a doctor in her own right.
I do. I feel like I slip into almost like I'm a middle school girl that questions every step, and the imposter syndrome really, really comes in. And it's not with all of them.
Right.
I feel like I could sit at a table with Jason and have a conversation and feel respected. And I could, clearly talk to Scott and various others like Jeff Scott, and I can sit and talk for hours, But there are still circles where it's a little edgy.
Yeah.
I feel on edge and have to question what comes out of my mouth.
Sure.
So like if the Southern slips out in a group of men, are they thinking, oh, this is just a dumb little country girl? But if the country slips out with the women in WBDI, they're like, yep, that's MJ.
MJ, thank you. And as Julia said, you won't be able to see this because this is audio only, but I'm showing you my Takiausa purple baton and just unbelievable work being done. I have a question. As a male band director who works with diverse people who want to be music teachers, including people who identify as female, as a male director who has not had firsthand the experiences that you and Julia are speaking to, how can I support my young female pre-service music educators to have that empowerment that you're speaking about so powerfully? And how can we help set up structures that are going to help them enter a profession and hopefully not have to fight the battles that we're speaking about today?
That's a very, very good question. I've never really thought about how men can help other than, obviously, Jason got involved with WBDI and became visible at our luncheon this year. I think it goes back to what we were talking about in terms of how we make our students, or at least my middle school students, feel safe within my classroom. Just making them feel seen, heard, whether it's programming, composers that look like them. I heard the phrase one time, providing the students with a mirror rather than a window through which to see the
Wow.
world.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where I heard that. It may have been Dr. Lori Schwartz-Reichel.
Mm-hmm.
And that really changed my mind on how I program and provide composers to the students. So making sure that the female students feel seen and heard and safe.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely safe, whether it's safe to apply for jobs, because there's some jobs out there that, think, oh, well, I could never do that because no woman's ever done it before, or I can't teach there because that's a district full of men. There's always got to be a first for everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting, MJ. We had Dr. Dre Graham on this show, and he said it's 2026. We should no longer have to say I'm the first Black anything. And I think we should no longer have to say I'm the first woman anything in 2026.
Right. Yep, absolutely. And I think you showed us the purple baton when Maren Alsop was doing the promotions online for that. I think they interviewed her for the Kelly Clarkson show, I think it was. And she made that comment. She was like, the host asked her how you feel about being the first. And she was like, I'm fine with being the first, but I'm tired of being the first. It's 2026. Give me a break.
Yeah.
But there's still lots of firsts and everything, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think perhaps the next thing we want to ask you is not from Scott or I, but it is from a WBDI member, and she has a question for you.
Hi, MJ, aka Madam President. This is Dr. Amy Colvin, the president of Florida chapter of WBDI. My question for you is, in what ways do you feel that WBDI and organizations such as ours can positively impact music education both now and well into the future?
Wow.
Hi, Amy.
Oh, I love Amy. I remember the first time I met Amy, I'd seen her name in so many things, and I literally fangirled, but I did it to a level that I looked at her and said, I'm fangirling right now. And I mean, it was literally just next level.
So when I asked her, she was like, wait, me? Are you sure? And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, I want to be y'all when I grow up. And I said, I want to be you when I grow up. And so it's just pouring. We're all in puddles over there.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm humbled to be amongst the women that are in this organization. And again, the imposter syndrome. It was a great question that Amy asked. And I think that we're on the right track. We do have some initiatives moving forward with WBDI. Pam did a really good job in bolstering the membership. And I think we need to continue to do that. Our vice president, Shayna Stahl, is doing a phenomenal job of increasing membership, not casting a wide net, but at the individual state level.
Yeah.
We're bolstering our state chapters and getting more and more state chairs to apply for state chapter status, but continuing that mentorship. So maybe a shift from recruiting to let's be present in the spaces that have women still underrepresented, but not so much the emphasis on let's get these numbers. Let's really mentor the members that are out there. Julia, you and Britton did such a phenomenal job of laying the groundwork for the mentorship committee, and I cannot thank you enough for that. And Jenny Neff, her and Laura are the perfect fit to take what y'all started and really take off with it. So, because I think it's like whenever you leave Midwest, you're on fire for the teaching, right?
Yeah.
And then you get back into real life and you're still pretty on it in January. And January is really long and snowy for some of us. And then February comes around and you get exhausted. I think that WBDI works in the same way. You join the organization and you're so on fire for the things, and then you just get into a lull. It's like, okay, well, what do I do now? There's that 5 or 6 months in between, the last time you saw a WBDI member and another conference. And so we've really got to reach out to the membership and keep them on fire and keep them supported. And also, like I said, be in spaces where maybe we don't have a whole lot of members, but there's a lot of women there that need the support.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think WBDI is more recently starting to put out like online content where if you don't have the resources to get to a conference, or you couldn't attend Midwest because it's the middle of testing and concert season, and then you have a family, there are so many barriers to our professional development conferences. And perhaps something that came out of the pandemic that is useful is that we are now more wise in how we put out content and how we could support and do things like podcasts or do things like online seminars, or, as you're at home, you're cooking, you're getting ready for the next day, you're doing teaching plans, lesson plans for the next day. Let me go ahead and put this on so that I could still get and foster that little flame that you have from maybe the last time you saw a WBDI member. I think that's wonderful. And I just want to say, I think that shift in WBDI to add those things is not only going to recruit, I think, even more people than the amazing recruitment that has happened over a couple of years, but it's also going to retain.
Right.
And that's the thing. I keep going back to the research where you're like, yeah, I found the problem, but I want to fix it. I want to do something about it. Yes, I found the people, and now I need to provide for those people.
Exactly.
And MJ, I think that just speaks to you as a person. Like, I found these people, like I was found when I needed somebody, and I want to do that.
Yep.
I am just so excited for your leadership moving forward for WBDI.
Thank you. And again, you talked about Pam. The way the system is set up with WBDI is the president-elect is really in more of a mentee role. And I just shadowed Pam for 2 years and just took copious notes and asked lots of questions. And she has been just such a phenomenal mentor that stepping into those shoes was very emotional and then very daunting of, I don't want to drop the ball. She just handed me the keys to the Lamborghini and now let's not run it off the road. So it's an organization that means so much to me because it literally changed my life.
Yeah. And I love she gave you the keys to the Lamborghini. Pam's Lamborghini would be yellow. I don't know if you disagree, but
absolutely.
It would be yellow.
She's just such a light.
Yeah.
And we started rooming together at summer conferences when she was president, and I never room with anybody. When I am away from home, I like just my space,
you're like me. Yep.
Sleep with the TV on, set the thermostat. But I have had more fun and laughed more than, we're talking like tears rolling down the face, laughing. And I'm actually thinking of my favorite memory list last summer in Canada of just everyone in that room, because everyone just sort of congregated and started sharing stories, just in tears at just Pam being Pam. She's just such a fun, she refills your soul every single time that you're around her. And I think in our leadership roles, whether it's at our school or in our organizations, that's the goal, is to do that for someone else.
Well, and, again, the leadership transition in any role, the bridge between somebody leaving and somebody taking over is so much stronger when there is a friendship. It's not just allyship. It is, I am here for you, whatever you need. I have a responsibility to you and this organization, but to you as a human being to take all of my lessons and do better with them so that you could do that for the next person. There is a lineage to it. I think music in general, ensembles in general, we have that built in. Jason Fedig said, band is great because band has always been the music of the people. Anybody could come to it. And regardless of the level, the background, whatever, and you found a place and you found a group of musicians. I think that's the key thing, is that you're not alone. You get to do it with others who are all unified under this one auspice of music making. And I think having just a support group like WBDI and those key individuals like Pam, especially for you, it is something that is unique. And I wish more people on this planet got to do it like that.
Yep.
I'm sitting back and just inspired by this conversation. And I think if I could provide just a hint of perspective, it all kind of goes down to legacy. It's how do we accept batons and how do we hand batons off to the next person who's going to round the corner and bring it home. So let's play a little game, MJ. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh my gosh.
Just a little game, just a little one.
Yeah.
Just a little one.
Gonna come right out the gate with the heavy hitter. I asked a coworker one time, and it was not a morbid conversation. It was just, what would you like your epitaph to say? And we went around and we all shared theirs, and they were like, well, what would yours be? And I really I would want mine to say, I tried my best. So, we all have bad days. Not every day is going to be duckies and bunnies and rainbows. I'm not Mary Poppins every single day in the band room. Like we struggle. We struggle with kids. We struggle at home. But at the end of the day, if I can go to bed at night and I can say that I did my best in that day, whether, dealing with exhaustion or whatever, and that hopefully every student did their best that day, then it's a good day. And like I said, every day is not duckies and bunnies and rainbows, that's for sure. But God, my legacy, that's God. See, now that's going to be the thing that I think we spend so much, especially in undergrad, developing our philosophy of education.
Mm-hmm.
I think you now have just really opened my eyes to asking myself that question and really coming up with a really good answer for it. Because I think that that'll help shape the trajectory of where I go from here. Because I did the math the other day on how many years I have until retirement. And I immediately was like, nope, I feel like I'm just now figuring things out. And then I've got 50 more years in me. But I think that now being on sort of a mentor side of my career is very daunting and scary. And I think if I'm going to do that well, I need to ask myself that question and answer that question, what I want my legacy to be. And if I could, I want to add one thing about legacy, since we've talked about WBDI. I did have the opportunity to go to Gladys's funeral, and it was very impactful. I didn't expect to get as emotional as I did, but I sat in that back pew and I ugly cried to the point that Jay Gephardt gave the most beautiful service, and I couldn't make eye contact with him because it was so moving. But he made the comment, and I'm paraphrasing, he listed off her various accolades that no one knew. No one knew all the awards that she had won and all of these firsts that she had done because she never talked about it.
Yeah.
She just pushed women forward, and she just was a good teacher and a good mentor. But he ended with the comment, Gladys built the podium for us all to stand on. And I thought, that's an amazing legacy right there. What an amazing life you've lived. So, Scott, thank you for pushing me to expect more of myself and answer that question for myself.
Oh, friend, we had Paula Kreider on, and you talk about people who built podiums, and I am constantly inspired. And conductors' podiums have multiple levels, and the different layers. People are adding layers to podiums every single day, and that's what I'm hearing today. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
So, friend, we're coming to the end of it, and I just want to make this a week-long podcast, but I don't think it's in the budget.
No.
However, what we like to do is we like to always say what our gems were for the episode. And I have 3, but I don't want to take 3 because I have a feeling Scott's going to think the same gems as me. I think, and I know you want to add to it more, but I do really like your epitaph, which is, I tried my best. There is so much to be said in those 4 words. Knowing that looks different every single day for every single human being on this planet. But if that is the expectation, yes, I'm okay with that. I tried my best.
And it's not success. It's not awards and accolades. I'm doing my best. You hope it's enough.
Scott, what's your gem?
That one of the most powerful ways we can empower people in our spaces is to model and provide for them a safe, trusting space to do the work. And that will pay it forward.
MJ, you got one?
Yes. My gem is, I'm so excited, and we just now talked about it, is the question that you asked, what do I want my legacy to be? I hadn't thought about it. So I'm really, really excited to dig into that in reflection and continue to grow as an educator with my legacy in mind.
Yeah. MJ, again, I want this to last forever.
I know. I miss you. I'm so glad I get to see Scott too. What a joy. What a joy it was to meet you.
Isn't this cool? We get to do this.
Yes.
We get to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to thank GIA Publications as our episode sponsor for truly sponsoring moments like this and allowing us to get together and do things like this, incredible and important things. And thank you, Dr. M.J. Robinson, for your leadership, your light, and just like being genuine about what you want to do here. Like, I want to not only find the challenges, but I want to solve it and make it better for everybody else. And that is fantastic. Any parting words for our listeners, MJ?
Just thank y'all so much for having me. And again, I talked a lot about the women of WBDI and the fact that you've had me on here to listen to me. I'm using my voice and being confident to use it. And you all affirming that I do have something to say that's worth hearing. And I'm going to be pinching myself that this has just happened because I cannot believe that I have the conversations that I have with the people that I have. So it's amazing. I have a very good life.
Believe it, girl.
It's a good day.
Let's go.
For Music for All, I'm Julia Baumanis.
And I'm Scott Edgar.
And this has been The Heart of Teaching Music.